So we'll get started. Everyone, welcome. This is DLIS webinar number 3 for the spring 2021 semester, and the subject today is the DLIS ePortfolio. And we're going to take it chunked out into 3 sections. The first is going to be my advice on how to approach the ePortfolio. The second is going to be Dr. Angel's advice on navigating the rubric and managing your artifacts. The third chunk will be actually building the ePortfolio in our Digication platform. And then we're going to round out, Dr. Vorbach is in the office today, and he'll be joining us to give his impressions of the ePortfolio as one of the readers. And we'll end it, as usual, with resources and housekeeping. So let's get started. Advice on how to approach the ePortfolio. This is essentially, it's a self-assessment. And you're linking what we call artifacts, which are course work that you've already completed that has already been assessed by an instructor. And that includes journals, logs, and projects produced in internships. Those artifacts are static. They are not being assessed. They are not being graded. They are not being changed or altered in any way. You're going to take the artifact, the assignment, and convert it into an artifact by posting it to your ePortfolio. The ePortfolio is the DLIS end of program assessment. It's comprised of these elements on the left-hand side of the screen, including your biography, your resume, your statement of professional philosophy, and at least 8 artifacts demonstrating that you have met each of the MS-LIS program goals. And Dr. Angel is going to talk to us more in depth about what the program goals are. For each artifact, you have to produce a description that should be 200 to 300 words, and that's going to focus on the what and why of the assignment. You're going to say, this is the midterm paper that I wrote in LIS 239 on the subject of this, and I used these, etc. The more robust element is the artifact reflection. How did you complete the assignment? A discussion of your successes and failures, and connection to not just the program goal, but maybe you can make a connection to other coursework that you've done or other assignments that you've completed. This is a narrative element. And the whole point of this is that you are essentially making an argument that you have met the program goals and deserve the MS-LIS. So your biography, who are you and why LIS? Right? These are basic questions. You can start with, if you have an introduction that you've done in courses, an icebreaker, you can start there and flesh it out. But remember that this is the end of program assessment. So you want to include indications of development or change. You can say, I started out as a part-time library clerk, and now I am a part-time trainee librarian, or maybe even a part-time reference librarian, depending on where you are. Or maybe I'm an assistant digitization imaging expert at, whatever. So there should be a transition of growth from when you started to where you are now. Your resume should be succinct and professional. Oh, also, I'm sorry, your biography should also include a professional image of you, like not a professional quality image, but an image that portrays you in a professional light. A picture of you dressed like you have a job or like you're looking for a job, right? No horses, no cows, no sheep. Crop them out if that's all you have, but try to get a professional looking headshot. It's easy to do with a simple background and your cell phone. That should suffice. Just not have a blouse with a collar or something, that reflects a professional image. Your resume that you post to the ePortfolio is not a CV. And the difference is that for people like myself and Dr. Angel, our CVs are dozens of pages long, right? So my CV, I come from a performance background. So all of my repertoire and all of my performances are listed on the CV. So it's a catalog of my 20 years of performing. Dr. Angel's CV includes all of her publications. So this is a resume, 1 to 2 pages, education, experience, memberships if you're in a professional membership, special skills, languages, etc. So just basic resume, not in depth. And this is because the ePortfolio, some of our alumni have used it in their job search, where you can pin a link to your ePortfolio, to your resume, or to whatever your cover letter that you submit to an electronic employment screening system, and prospective employers can take a look at the work you've done. So that's one way to use the ePortfolio. But the primary reason for the ePortfolio is your end of program assessment. The statement of professional philosophy is the third element. Your assignment for Dr. Ryu in LIS 204 is a starting point. Again, this should be developed. You should say, I came in and in my first semester, my statement of professional philosophy was, I want to provide literacy services to impoverished youth. And how did you develop those skills? How did you grow that impetus into what is now going to be your practice? You might even consider answering questions like, what are current issues in LIS and how might they affect your practice? You know, we're seeing now the emergence of librarianship in response to trauma. How do we deal? We're living in a plague right now. How are libraries responding to that? Remote services are newly being developed, implemented across all forms of librarianship and in the information professions. So these are questions that you can answer or consider when you're writing your statement of professional philosophy. So artifacts, as I said at the beginning, an artifact is an assignment that has been graded or assessed by an instructor, and you're going to upload it to your ePortfolio without changes. It's just going to be the way it was assessed in its original form. That can include something that flopped, okay? Because in the description, you're going to get into what it was and why you did it. But in the reflection, you're going to get into what were the successes, what were the failures. You're going to answer the question, what would I have done differently? So you can include something that didn't get you an A. You can include something that didn't, you dropped the ball, or whatever, but it doesn't have to be the shining, exemplary examples of what you've done. It doesn't have to be stellar work. It can be something that you wish you had done differently. And that kind of narrative is what the readers, what the faculty want to see, an awareness. This is a self-assessment in the reflection process. So the program goals, as Dr. Angel will go into in a few moments, run the gamut from the foundations of the profession, right? That's your intro stuff, and then information resources, organization of knowledge, and then ending at administration and management. So they're organized kind of like the life cycle of a librarian's career, from what you've learned in library school to how you think or what skills you have to advance your career, including lifelong learning and management. So you're going to select artifacts that demonstrate to the faculty that you have met each of these program goals, and you are going to explain why the artifact is an appropriate example or demonstration of meeting the program goal. So how do we select our artifacts? You're going to go through your oeuvre of assessed assignments, and you're going to look at the curriculum map, and that map is a matrix of course and the program goal met by the work done in that course. You're going to write your description, and you're going to write your reflection, and then you're going to repeat. You're going to do this at least 8 times. And remember, the graded and completed assignment does include work from an internship. Your description should include the what and why of the assignment. And the reflection should include how, the successes and failures, any improvements you would make, and connections to the program goal and to any other coursework or experience that you've had in the division. Again, these are just limited to 200, 300 words. We're looking for an essay that is a reflective statement and exhibits some sense of self-awareness or at least contextual awareness of the MSLIS. And this is a tip from Dr. Lee. The program goals are set by the faculty, and you are responsible for selecting your artifacts, and they have to demonstrate, and you have to state in your reflection how the artifact meets the program goal. Essentially, you're bringing your ePortfolio to the faculty and asking them for an MSLIS. So you have to make sure that you are demonstrating that you have met all of the goals, because if you don't meet the goals, you're not really completing the course. You've completed the coursework, but this is essentially it's a performance assessment. Remember to be creative when you're selecting your artifacts and when you're building your ePortfolio. If you have a variety of media available to you, if you made a short video for a youth services course, or if you have a walkthrough video of a web design course, you can use screenshots of your LibGuide entries or blog posts. Um, Always try to connect the artifact to the program goal. That's one of Dr. Lee's other tips. When students don't do that in their ePortfolio, they lose points because it's not clear. It shouldn't be on the burden. The burden should not belong to the reader to make the connection. You have to state what the connection is and then build on that in your reflection. Again, descriptions are what and why of the assignment. Reflections, successes and failures, like do a brief analysis. We're looking for synthesis and analysis. Your narrative should always focus on your process, but growth also, like how your professional philosophy statement should show an evolution from what your impression was at the start of the program to what you hope your practice will be in the field after the program. And I can't stress this enough, always be connecting. That's really one of the best ways to demonstrate your competency. All right, any questions? At any point, if there's any questions, you can drop them into chat for those of you attending synchronously, and then we'll review as we go through. Otherwise, I'm going to pass the ball to Dr. Angel so that she may present to us.
Okay, so in terms of setting up your ePortfolio and getting started, what I suggest is going to your desktop. And Michael, by any chance, could you bring up the learning goals?
Oh, I made you the presenter, so you can do that.
Okay. When you go, I might as well just go here then. So when you go to, hang on, the DLIS LibGuide. Let me see if I got there. Yeah, it's right here. The quickest way for me to find the LibGuide is just by going to the blog, looking up resources, going to LibGuide. And I think I have to share the screen with you. So let me share. My web browser. All right, so you should be seeing a blank screen right now.
Yes.
Okay, so let me see if this works. I'm moving you guys. All right. Can you see my screen with the banner at the top?
No, I see some text that you're sharing, but it's only showing that window. You're showing your it's a browser window.
Share content. Okay, can you see that?
Yes, you're on the LibGuide.
So tell me if you can still see my screen when I go to the portfolio.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. So here's the DLIS LibGuide, and I'm on the ePortfolio. So the main thing you're going to want to look at right now is the learning goals and outcomes. So when you get started, I would start now, with your first semester or whatever semester you're in, and create a folder on your desktop that says something like ePortfolio or DLIS ePortfolio. And within that folder, you're going to create 8 subfolders. Name them as such: Goal 1, Goal 2, Goal 3, Goal 4. When you take your classes, you should be seeing on your course syllabus for your classes what intended student learning outcomes or learning goals you are going to be able to demonstrate proficiency within for each assignment. So your assignment should be aligned to one of these program goals, and it should be stated in your syllabus. So if you're taking, for example, LAS 203, I know that I've aligned the end of semester course artifact, which is your blog post, your HHC blog post, to learning goal number 3. So as an example, you can throw in that artifact into your subfolder that says goal 3. And there's your artifact. You've got that one artifact then selected for one goal, this one goal for your ePortfolio. That's step 1. I would do that for each class. In addition to this, what I would do is, as you're deciding which artifacts for each of your classes fits into or best demonstrates your achievement for that learning goal, I would also create a Word document and do a freehand. Describe what you did and then state why you did it, because that way you don't lose that stuff out of your head. So I would do that for each class you take. Choose one artifact and dump that into one of your folders for your ePortfolio. This is why you're going to be graded based upon that work that you do that I just explained. So can you see my rubric?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Michael. So when we are grading your ePortfolios, every ePortfolio is graded twice by 2 different faculty members. And this is what we're looking at. I'm always going to go to the excellent column and see, did you select one artifact? And is that one artifact related to the DLIS program goal? So I'm looking for to tick off each of these sub questions for selection of artifact. For description, I'm looking to see if you are able to describe how the artifact relates to the program goal and why you chose it for inclusion. In other words, how does your artifact demonstrate student achievement of that particular learning goal? That's basically what we want to know, because your artifacts that you select for inclusion in your ePortfolio are archived, because we have to demonstrate as a program for reaccreditation that students are indeed meeting, or at least being able to demonstrate through your work, achievement of each of the learning goals. It's part of our assessment. For the description then, we're looking at, or for the reflection then, these are the 2 different components that we're looking at. And this is where I have found that students don't do as well with the reflection statements, because you're reflecting on an artifact, but yet I have found that students neglect to go back to the rubric to see how they're actually being graded for that reflective statement. So while I said at the beginning, when you are creating your folder on your desktop and you're throwing in a Word document that describes what you did and why you did it, the way you're going to do well on the reflective portion of your ePortfolio is making sure that you look at the rubric and you're able to tick off each of the points. If you have failures, state them. If not, state that you did not experience any failures for this particular artifact or for the creation of this particular artifact. And when you state what was learned, yeah, sure, what was learned in that class, but I think that what Michael might have been trying to demonstrate or to convey what Sherry was saying, what was learned within the larger context of the program. So I see a cute little baby. So when you are writing your reflective statement, remember that this is a very hands-on program. So one course, something you learn in one course, say how to make information accessible via the web to your information users, is going to be directly related to another course that you did. For example, if you take LIS 203 right now, what you're doing is you just wrote a blog post, right? And within that blog post, you're taking the Vincentian perspective on what it means to represent the under or misrepresented within our archival documents, within our information communities, right? So how are you going to make that representative artifact, that artifact that represents the underserved, available to the public? You're looking at your metadata, because words count, right? So how are you acting as the bridge between the objects that you're making available for the catalog and the catalog for the information user and the description of that object. How do you want to connect your information user to the object? So, and another class might be data preservation and access, right? So if you're preserving data, how often are you going to perform data migration on those documents that you've just now digitized and made available to your information user? So try to go ahead, and when you're describing when you're reflecting upon what you did, it's very practical and very helpful to think of, well, how does this one artifact and what I've learned in this one course that ended up helping me to create this artifact relate to my overall profession in terms of the work I'm going to do as an information professional within the real world. I think that's all I have on that. Do you guys have any questions about anything that I've said about the actual hands-on construction of your ePortfolio? Michael, is there anything that I need to go over that you can think of?
No, I think the takeaway from this is the rubric is public. I'm gonna show you where it is. It's on the LibGuide on the ePortfolio page. It's one of the tools that you can use in this way, as Dr. Angel is describing, to kind of reverse engineer an excellent grade. If you tick off all of the items that are under that excellent column, those values, if you can achieve those values, then you'll pass the ePortfolio. I mean, we don't
hide anything.
We don't hide anything, and so it's just a matter of getting out. And the reason why we do this workshop every semester is because we understand it's hard. It's best practice is, like Dr. Angel said, you want to start building your ePortfolio in your first semester. As soon as you start getting assignments back, you want to start organizing them in such a way that it'll be easy to retrieve. And part of the reflection and part of having a high quality reflection is to capture those thoughts and feelings at that moment. If you can scribble something down into a Word document or even a journal, a paper journal, about the process, about the assignment and the grade that you got on it, or the assessment, months later, when you sit down to finalize your ePortfolio, you have a contemporaneous account of what happened. So be your own primary source for that information. It's easier to capture it and forget about it than forget about it and try to reconstitute it later on. So that's just for your own well-being. Everybody works differently. We understand that. And that's why we do this workshop every semester, so that we're constantly giving tips and clues as to how to do this to kind of demystify it. And so I'm going to go into the LibGuide and then transition into Digication now. Thank you, Dr. Angel. That was very helpful.
Just one question. I'll stop sharing my screen. When will everybody have an account?
It should have happened this week. So if you're a new student, you should have an email from Digication that says, here's your username and your login. I reported it to them on Tuesday of this week, so it should happen. It just generally takes them like 2 days. So I'm hoping today everybody has an account who started in the spring 2021 semester. If not, it'll happen in the next few days. All right. So yeah, so that takes us to building the ePortfolio in Digication. I'm already in Digication, so let me quickly, this is the Digication homepage. Here, this top section is my ePortfolios. This would be blank for people logging in for the first time, obviously. And then at the bottom are assessment groups or communities or courses. These are this is organizing multiple users into one concentrated area. We use the assessment groups to facilitate identifying students who are eligible for graduation and registered for LIS 105, which is the 0 credit, not a capstone, but end of program course that all graduating students should be registered for. And we lump you together, and then this is how you would log in. You would log into Digication and then go into the assessment group to submit your ePortfolio. But there's more information on that uh, in the LibGuide. So let's start there. Oh, geez. Bear with me, folks. I forgot the most important part. Okay. So again, LibGuide ePortfolio page. Uh, this is information on the right, Digication Student Guide. Each one of these links takes you to a subject page from Digication. So it's information, troubleshooting, and their wiki. So it's their publication. This is the ePortfolio support documents, the program goals and outcomes that Dr. Angel just showed us, the curriculum map that I mentioned before, which is the matrix that says what courses meet what program goals, and then the rubric that Dr. Angel just showed us. So these three items here are the foundation. This is what the blueprint for your ePortfolio. You're going to check the curriculum map to see which courses meet program goals. You're going to organize your artifacts by program goal, and then you're going to use the rubric excellent column to reverse engineer your description and the other elements of descriptions and the other elements of your ePortfolio. Here's on the left brief descriptions of those elements or instructions for submitting the ePortfolio. So everything you need to know, again, the life cycle is arranged from top to bottom. So you're going to start with how to build it and then work your way down to the bottom. And that includes information on the assessment and what your expectations should be once you have submitted. So this is all organized on here. This is really, the LibGuide is designed to be a manual for students in the department, or really a handbook for students in the department. So everything you need to know about the ePortfolio is on this page, including the recording. The recording for today's meeting will occupy this space here where the last semester's recording is, so that they're always current. And again, back to Digication itself, it's pretty intuitive. If you do the, getting started, adding modules and content. Again, this is a whole life cycle arrangement of Digication explaining how to use the tool. And so I'll very quickly show you the basics of how to use the tool, primarily the menu, the interface, the structure of it. So again, this is my homepage or my dashboard. Under the My ePortfolios heading, you'll see all the way on the right, there's a blue plus button. I click that to create a new ePortfolio, and I can name it whatever I want. So I'm just going to name it CrossFox Spring 2021, or you can name it your last name, MSLIS. Understand that right below this entry box, the URL, you're going to get a customized URL that you could share potentially with potential employers. So make sure that you're filling in the back end of that URL and that it's appropriate. So I would just stick with last name, MSLIS, possibly the year that you graduate to differentiate yourself if you have a common last name. It's initially private, and then you can change the settings later on. You don't have to make the ePortfolio public in order to submit it for review, because we're all in Digication together. So you would have to make it public if you wanted to share it with your potential employers. Easy peasy. So once that's done, I'm building it from scratch. We don't have a template. Neither of these templates that are here, these are just suggestions from Digication. So we're just going to create from scratch. And that's it. It takes a few minutes for it to partition the space for us. And while that's going on, it does take a while to get used to this, but this is a robust environment, but it has very limited capabilities when it comes to customization. And that serves two purposes. The first is ease of use. It's rather intuitive. And the second purpose is that you won't break it by inserting bad code. You don't know, you won't be able to edit CSS or HTML or anything like that. You're just going to upload elements. And that protects your content. It protects digitation from hackability and malware, but it also protects the integrity of your content, of whatever you upload into it. This is a newer version. We started working with this product 5 years ago, and back then it did have a little more customizability and flexibility if you knew CSS, if you knew advanced elements of web design or web coding. But they've eliminated that, and this interface is a lot friendlier if you're on a touchscreen or a tablet or web-enabled mobile device. So that's pretty much where we're going now. We're moving away from hard coding to clickability, and now it's kind of drag and drop WYSIWYG style. So that's good for everyone. So here we are. This is the front page of my new ePortfolio. And I'm going to move this little window. And down here on the lower right-hand corner, we have that famous blue plus sign. And this is going to pull up the menu of items that we want to incorporate. So we can add a new section, we can add a rich text box, we can upload a file, we can embed, we can add a table, we can pull code from GitHub, we can record a video or record audio. So it's pretty robust. This is a pretty standard web building interface. So we'll go ahead and add a section. Now there's the second section. So the first section that was already populated, we're going to add content. And this is, again, you select rich text or you can embed. So what we're doing at this level is simply stacking in elements that are going to be, so this would be, the first section might be an embedded PDF, that is the paper that I wrote for web design, or the video that I captured, a quick video walkthrough or voiceover PowerPoint video of me describing or showing the website that I designed in web design. And then the next section could be a rich text box with a copy-pasted text of my description. And then I would add another content section and copy-paste the text of my reflection, so on and so forth. Now up here at the top, we want to get into editing this. Hold on a second. This always happens to me. There we go. We hit the unlock. So that was this, the header was locked. We unlock it. And here we have the customizing. These are the settings for this page. For the broader, if I add a background image, I can change the color scheme. So this is where you get into that customization level. And you can see there aren't that many elements that you can customize. But it does give you the opportunity to mess around and create things. We've had students in the past that had a branded identity that they used to market themselves as freelance graphic designer. So there were elements that they wanted to customize, and they were able to design a brand adjacent image and upload that, so that this Digication ePortfolio kind of mirrored the style of their personal website that they were using for professional purposes, so that their brand integrity was intact. Okay, so by hovering, we get this menu of edit, settings. The four-way arrow allows us to move items, and of course the trash can allows us to get rid of things. Now this white space here, that obviously home is the page that we're on now, this is essentially your navigation menu. So we're going to click edit, and you see down here, add new page. And this is where you would get into the elements of design. The horizontal navigation menu at the top is permanent. It'll appear on all ePortfolios. So that's a menu that you can only customize by adding pages to it. So, you can name the pages whatever you want. It should be clear, your labeling. You'll see if you look at the rubric, your labeling and navigation should be intuitive and easy for the reader. Yes, the readers are full-time faculty in library and information science at first, but there may be other people reading this. You may want to share it with your Nana or someone else, just so that they can see the kind of work that you did while you were in library school. So just be mindful of the reader, of the experience. This also, again, you can change the privacy settings. This is all explained in the documents that, in the tutorials that you can access from the LibGuide. I gotta trash this guy and now save. Okay, so you see that the pages have been added to the horizontal menu at the top of the page. And when I go to these pages, this menu, this header persists. So that makes navigation easy. If this setting, it identifies what page I'm on by changing the color of the button, et cetera, et cetera. So this is all stylistic stuff that you can get into if you'd like. And I wanted to show you an example of just how robust this can be. This left-hand menu, you can access my account, homepage, etc. But again, it's very easy, very simple, drag and drop. It's rather intuitive. If you don't even need, by now, by the end of the program, you should have some experience either with a blog or with web design. You should have some experience, and LibGuides identifying what the tools are and an understanding of what their capabilities are. So it's just a matter of exploring and just building. This is an example of someone that submitted 2 years ago. And you can see she uses a background image. She's got this 2-column format with call out boxes here with quotes. This page especially I like. Her resume page. It's inline. It's not a separate document. So you have options. You can either use a rich text box format and include all of your resume as a static content on the page, or you could upload a PDF of your page that your visitors would scroll through. For professional philosophy, she's got the text on the right and she's got these images on the left that includes a gallery of some of the graphical work that she's produced while she's been in the program working as a part-time librarian at her local library. So again, if you're going to use something that you produced at your internship or for an employer, make sure that you get permission. All right, we want to make sure that we're authorized to display this content. I can see this, I can show this to you because I'm logged into Digication. This ePortfolio is not publicly accessible. So that's another way that your content can be protected. So this is the ePortfolio that was submitted. And so me and the faculty will always have access to this because, as Dr. Angel said, that creates an archive of our students' work that we could use to demonstrate to the American Library Association that we are worthy of accreditation. All right, so that's it for that. Let me go back home. That's the older interface that you'll have access to at the point of submission, but this is the interface that you're going to be working in as you build your ePortfolio. All right, any questions? I thought I heard a chat question. Can you show how a 2-column format could be created? You know what? I don't know how to do that, but let's see if we can figure it out. All right, learning in real time, folks. Let's see. Let's pull this up. Image opacity. No, I wonder. I've never done that. I've only ever used the single column format. But we can go here to our Digication student guide, ePortfolio organization and layout. Oh, okay. So you would just move, if you try to move a section, a content area around, it looks like it snaps to a grid. So let's see if that's the case here. I use the 4-way arrow and move section 1. Well, there's no content. Let's get content in here. Upload file. Okay, it's kind of a weird image, sorry. All right, so that's it. Yeah, so I would resize it. Do you see that when I move it, I get this grid here and these vertical lines, and then I would just have to resize it to make room for content on the other side. So it's really just a manual process. You're not designating a 1 or 2 column format. You are you're not selecting between a 1 or 2 column format. You are creating the column effect manually by manipulating the size and placement of your content within the section. So again, this is from the Digication Student Guide on the LibGuide. We went to organization and layout and took a look at this and just very quickly, I didn't read any of the text. I just glanced at what was happening and figured it out. Click the 4-way arrow, start moving things, shifting sizes, and that's how you get that 2-column effect that was employed by the students whose ePortfolio I showed you just a moment ago. All right, so any questions? If anyone needs help, if you would like a specific walkthrough, just email me and we can set up a WebEx appointment to go through and start exploring together in Digication. It's pretty easy if you have experience with WordPress or any Wix or any other WYSIWYG style web design interface, it's the same principles. And it's just a matter of learning it and creating, it's not a beauty contest, right? This isn't a beauty pageant. You can say that building your ePortfolio was part of a demonstration of your technological knowledge and skills, which is one of our program goals. But we've also had success with very simple ones with minimal customization. This is, we want to see media. If you've created media while you were in the program, we want you to include it. We encourage you to include it, but there's absolutely no standard that you include. It would be perfectly satisfactory if you just had static images, no bells and whistles, no sound effects. We don't want any of that. Don't clutter it up. Keep it simple, but be creative. Okay. So that was building and Digication. The slide deck will be posted to the LibGuide also underneath the video for this presentation so that you can access these links. And again, the campus guide is really the primary place to start exploring. Everything is there, Digication stuff, the rubric and supporting documents, and of course, more information about the structure, the elements of the ePortfolio. And that said, Dr. Vorbach wanted to share some remarks on the ePortfolio with us. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen and pass him the ball. Dr. Vorbach, you are now the presenter.
Thank you, Michael. I want to thank Michael for that. I blindsided him with that question. He didn't know it was coming, and he handled that quite well. I brought it up. Well, I just thought of that question about the 2-column format because it is very popular, widely used, and for very good reason. It gives you a lot of flexibility. You could have the images on one side and the narrative on the other. You could also, as you saw, Michael showed you, the vertically your page is divided into sections. So one section could be 1 column. The next section could be 2 columns, and then maybe have a third section, and that's probably all you need because that would cover your content quite well. But you have a lot of flexibility and everything's drag and drop. But let me get to my point here. I don't want to hold you up too long because I know I get zoned out myself after about a 45 minutes on a Zoom or a WebEx meeting. So, okay, share content. And my browser, is that the one? So Outlook, Teams. No, it's got to be that one. Okay. Okay, so let me just ask, Michael, are you still have your audio on?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see
Yes.
just one page? Okay, Roseanne Pensavine is a recent grad, and I just wanted to show you, just show you just a simple example of trying to, of, a particular page that satisfies a program goal. Here's the navigation she set up. This is typical navigation, program goals, and then each of the goals are listed. Um, then we come to this is, you can see, is understanding information resources, goal 2. And as I was mentioning, the top is just one column format where she has the artifact, but she varies it from page to page, and that's perfectly fine. But what uh, I wanted to show you how, remember when Dr. Angel was going over the rubric and how she went over that section uh, after the selection of artifacts about description and then reflection, and the two sections had very different purposes. What's really key is that you make that very clear on your page. So there's many ways you can do that, but one thing first, the thing that is very important is you have a little section header here says description. So the reviewer immediately knows what to expect from this narrative. This is the narrative that's going to tell the reviewer, oh, okay, this is the course it's in. Okay, group projects are perfectly fine. And then why was this artifact chosen? How does this artifact satisfy, in this case, the information resources, the second program goal? And that's what the reviewer would be looking for in here. And then over here on the reflection side, the reviewer again immediately knows what the narrative is going to tell him or her. It's going to tell the learning, what the learning that took place, the takeaways, how this relates to career, perhaps next steps. I mean, there's a lot of things that demonstrate that are ways in which you can communicate what you learn from that artifact, and that's essentially what your reflection is. How you could improve upon the artifact. I mean, there's many ways, but again, that's happening in the reflection section, and that is clearly um, described here. So this is as you can see, this is just a two-section, maybe, no, I think two-section page. So the top is one unit or one artifact, or where the artifact is one column. And then down here, the student broke it clearly into the description portion and the reflection portion. And that, does it have to be two columns? No, you could have description first and then reflection following. But what you don't want to have is just one narrative. And then it's kind of you're leaving it up to the reviewer to figure out, well, where does one part description stop and reflection begin? And that can be a little bit challenging at times. So clarity is really important, and that's basically it. That's my main point. Be clear, be proofread. And I also want to echo what Dr. Angel said about in the very beginning. You finish a course, you have this little folder on your desktop, and you just drop in, like, what was the main project of the course? Put it in there, and subfolders for each of the program goals, and from the syllabus what is the related program goal. If you want, you could look at the curriculum map that Michael mentioned, and that tells you for every single course in the program what is the program goal, if you don't want to go back to the syllabi. But either way, both are the syllabi is a very valuable resource, and also the curriculum map. And in this case, they both will tell you what program goal does that course relate to you. So not to bring us back and to conclude, dropping the project or the main assignment, let's say, that for that course into that folder or subfolder on your desktop. Now it's there. You don't have to go look for it. It's there, and you write a brief little, you know, what briefly what about the project um, was relevant at that time. And then when you go back to this in your last semester, when you're taking LIS 105, you have all that to draw on and all the context of the courses you've taken since, and can basically write the narrative for your ePortfolio rather, it's not that much of a challenge. As long, again, as long as you are building these individual pieces along the way for each of your courses, then constructing the final narrative, description, reflection. You should have the layout, pretty much done by the time you go into 105. 105 should simply be going through your notes, making the final selection. Okay, I want to pick this artifact as opposed to this one. They both cover the program goal, but I think this one's better at covering the program goal, making those final decisions, writing the narrative on your ePortfolio, and and then you're done. It's if you are organized, proceed in an organized way, starting at the very beginning of the after you finish your first semester. It is not. It is certainly you don't. It is something that is certainly a lot of work in your last term, but it is very doable if you proceed in that fashion. Okay, so that's all for me, folks, and I guess I'll turn it back to Michael, who's got some closing remarks.
I sure do. Thank you, Dr. Vorbach, and thank you, Dr. Angel. It's always good to have a faculty perspective here, so we try to have at least one faculty member every time we offer this webinar. Questions now, if you have any questions, we're about to wrap up, so you can drop them into chat. Again, you can follow up with either Dr. Angel or myself if you have questions about rubric or assessment. You can get Dr. Angel's spin on that, or if you have questions or need help with digication, you can reach out to me directly. I will say this though, faculty and staff in DLIS do not review ePortfolios before they're submitted. So if you have questions about the technical side of things, like the question that Dr. Vorbach asked about putting in a multi-column format, I can answer that question. I can't help you design and execute the ePortfolio. And faculty will not review, they won't review beforehand any of the content because it's, like I said, it's already been graded, and your reflection is the description and reflection are really all that you're producing now, or for the ePortfolio. Amanda wants to know if people who started in fall 2020 were supposed to get their login information last semester, or are we also getting it in the next couple of days? Yeah, that happened, I think, in November. So let me just check on that, Amanda, and I'll get back to you. There may have been some delay with that. I didn't know that that didn't happen, or maybe they didn't communicate it to you the way they were supposed to. So I'll check on that. It's going to go into my handy dandy notebook right now. That said, let's talk about what to expect for the rest of the semester. All right, our next webinar is going to be on the 25th of March, and that's going to be essentially an update from our community partner, Dr. Mary Brown. We've been working with her as an academic service learning partner for a number of years. And so we're going to hear from her just an update on the projects that our students are working on and what it means to be a records manager in an archive at this stage, during lockdown and COVID and remote and all of that stuff. So she's just going to give us an update. Then the next one, next date of note is Easter recess will take place over April 1st to the 5th. That's Holy Thursday to the Monday after Easter. Then we have our next webinar after that is going to be April 8th, where we're going to hear from some members of professional associations, and they're going to talk to us about the importance of membership in professional associations as regards to your networking opportunities and career development and continuing education opportunities. And we get specific professional associations from the New York City area, but we're going to talk very broadly about the importance of professional associations to your career development. The ePortfolio for May 30th, 2021 degree conferral is due April 12th. So people that are ending their program currently in their last semester or the semester after they completed their coursework will be submitting by that day. And then finally, April 22nd, our final webinar of the semester. We'll hear from Dr. Vorbach again in the Directors Forum. I will put out a digest alert for students to submit programmatic questions ahead of time so that Dr. Vorbach can structure his presentation in a way that will deliver most value and information. So thanks again, everybody, for participating. If you have the opportunity, if you're eligible, please consider getting vaccinated against COVID-19. We're working our best here in New York City to get this taken care of. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. Thanks for attending. Thanks for viewing, people who are watching later on. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye.